Lucid's Air can hit 300 kilowatt peak, but that number is only half the story. Want to know when those huge peaks actually matter and where the real sweet spot hides on the charging curve? We ran a careful breakdown of the Air's charging behavior, how we measured power versus state of charge, what the headline peaks mean in real stops, and exactly which state of charge window gives you the fastest energy per minute. If you want to shave minutes off road trips and not just stare at the pretty peak numbers, this video shows the data and math and the real driving tactics you should use. I'll walk you through the method, the charts, and the one state of charge range you should target for fast, efficient top-ups. Hello everyone, I'm Shayan, an engineer specialized in electric vehicle development. Think of this as a lab work for road trips. We drained the battery to low state, used a high-power DC charger, logged charger output, and vehicle accepted power every second and kept environmental variables stable. Battery preconditioning enabled on some runs, ambient temperatures noted, and multiple sessions averaged. That's important because one of the peaks looks great on the paper, but a repeatable average curve is what determines your stop time. Similar independent tests and owner logs have revealed consistent behavior across model years, so the numbers match broader community findings. So yes, the Air has been measured spiking over 300 kilowatts at very low state of charge. Multiple tests saw peaks in the 300 to 310 kilowatts range in the first few minutes of a session. That peak is dramatic and real, and it gets clicks, but it usually lasts for a few minutes, depending on battery temperature and pack size. So while the Air can hit those numbers, the time you actually spend at peak power is short. The area under the curve, the true speed metric. If peak kilowatt is the headline, the area under the curve is the bank account. What matters for travel time is sustained power over the whole session, not the top second. Some charge curves deliver a big spike then collapse. Others hold a high plateau longer. For the Air, real-world log sessions show a high initial plateau that then tapers. And our best runs give an average 10 to 80% power in the 160 to 180 kilowatt range, which translates to roughly 20 to 30 minutes for a 10 to 80% fill depending on the pack size and conditions. Independent compilations of Lucid charging data align with that range. The data consistently shows the Air's most efficient charging window, which is roughly 10 to 45% state of charge. In that region, you get the largest sustained kilowatt plateau and the best energy per minute. Charging earlier than 10% can bring higher peaks, but only for very few brief time. Charging above 45 to 50% brings faster tapering and diminishing return per minute. Practically, if you arrive between 10 to 40% state of charge, you'll capture a long section of high power plateau and refill miles fastest. Battery temperature is the wild card. A preconditioned pack, warmed or cooled into the optimal window before the charger, can sustain higher power for longer. A cold or hot pack will throttle sooner. Tests show that when the Air was preconditioned, initial plateau power rose and lasted longer. In one log session, the car started around 250 kilowatt and briefly rose to 300 to 310 kilowatt, holding high power until roughly 25 to 28% state of charge before a steady decline. Without preconditioning, peak and plateaus shrink quickly. That's why route-based preconditioning or using the car's navigate to the charger feature matters. Why the marketing number misleads? Automakers advertise peak kilowatt and the headline minutes to X%, which creates an expectation. Plug in, get huge power for the whole session. The reality is charge power, battery temperature, arrival state of charge, and the car's thermal limits decide how long you see the headline power. If you plan road trips based only on peak kilowatt, you will misjudge stop duration, sometimes by tens of minutes. Independent testers and owners repeatedly warn that peak power isn't the same as the sustained charging speed. On a trip, you care about how many miles you get per minute of charging. If you charge from 10 to 60% within the high plateau, you maximize miles per minute. If you instead show up at 50% and expect lightning fast top-up, you'll get tapered power and a longer stop. That mismatch is why drivers report, why is this 350 kilowatt charger so slow? It's usually the vehicle curve, not the charger. Community threads and test reports back this up. Numbers and scenarios you can use right now. Let's put real numbers next to everyday choices so you can plan stops like a pro. Typical fast charging session reality for a Lucid Air Grand Touring or Dream Edition style pack. Peak short bursts are near 300 kilowatts. Sustained average is around 160 to 180 kilowatt band for the main part of the charge, and the 10 to 80% is in 22 to 30 minutes depending on the pack and conditions. That matches independent tests and community curve analysis. If your car averages 170 kilowatt, each minute of charging delivers 2.83 kilowatt hour. If your vehicle uses 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour, that's roughly 10 miles per minute in that high average band. Maximize minutes in that band and you win time. If power dips to 70 kilowatt, that drops to 4.2 miles per minute. A real difference. Arrive at 15% state of charge, charge to 60% to capture the plateau, then move on. You'll get the best time to miles ratio compared to arriving at 45% and topping to 80%. That tactic shortens stops and reduces time spent in the steep taper zone where charging is slow. Smaller battery variants reach the same state of charge percent with fewer kilowatt hour added, but they may add also heat differently and throttle faster. Larger packs can soak more power longer, so high-end Air trims with bigger packs can sustain high power longer than smaller variants. That's why Dream or Grand Touring runs often show stronger sustained numbers than the lower capacity trims. Testing comparison shows that the pack capacity and thermal design change the area under the curve significantly. The one practical rule that beats specs: aim for the plateau. Don't chase the peak kilowatt, instead, chase the plateau window, typically 10 to 45% state of charge on the Lucid Air. Precondition the battery en route so you arrive warmed up. So use the navigation to route to the chargers that support high sustained power. And avoid planning to stop with high initial state of charge. Do that and you'll convert headline numbers into actual minutes saved. Real-world testers and owner logs show this tactic shortens travel time and reduces frustration. Wrap up in plain language. Lucid's Air can produce jaw-dropping peak power. That's really impressive, but the useful measure for the road trips is sustained power you get while the state of charge comes through the battery's best window. Target arriving at chargers around 10 to 40% state of charge, precondition the battery, and charge through the high power plateau before the taper. That's the recipe to turn Lucid's peak capability into the real-time saving. If you want to learn more about the battery management system, how it works, how it calculates state of charge, state of health, and different characteristics, its safety checks, and what it does inside the electric vehicles, you can click on the BMS course in the description. Thank you.